everybody. My name is Sarah Snell Cooke. I'm your host here at the Kredit Connection. I'm joined today by Evan Leapheart. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Evan is with Kredit Academy. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the Kredit Academy.
Simply put, I started this because I was the use case. Credit Academy centered in financial education, but a little bit about myself. I was born in Pittsburgh, big Steelers fan. That's a tough thing to be when you grew up right outside of Baltimore. So pretty much all my friends, yes, are Ravens fans, and so there's 2 weeks out of the year we don't talk, sometimes three. Uh, and then when I turned 18, I moved to Miami, went to warmer pastures, and kind of spent the last 20 years out there. But always been an entrepreneur. But like many, I was the kid that turned 18, got a credit card right away and maxed it out and spent my whole 20s paying for it. So always been an entrepreneur, but in my 20s, it was tough to get a loan or line of credit because I I made dumb decisions. And I effectively said, how can we change that? So I started out on this journey building the vitamin to the issue and kind of grew up a little bit as a company and also in the age that we serve. So now we're a bit of the pain pill with our core product, Credit Quest. So
Pain pill, huh? For
indeed.
those of us with arthritis in our knees. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Sometimes you can take a vitamin, sometimes you need an Advil.
That's
Right now
right.
we got the
I
Advil.
think I think I'm on double dosing right now. So yeah, we used to be neighbors. I forgot about that. Practically neighbors and didn't know
Indeed.
each other.
Indeed. Good old Columbia.
Yes, Columbia, Maryland. So yeah, I love and credit unions love obviously financial wellness, financial education, and in particular, you focus on credit. Um, and it's such a piece that maybe I feel like is ignored because everybody's like, oh, budget, save, and then put some money aside that you can donate. And that's kind of like budgeting typically for at least for
Yeah.
younger people.
Yep.
But the starting point. So like talk a little bit about why you're focused on credit. I mean, you mentioned your personal situation, but also, I mean, there are millions who have done the same thing.
Yep. Yep. So it's a stat that's probably grown since I last said this, but over 90 million adult Americans are considered credit challenged. But yeah, no, I mean, effectively why we focus on credit is when you think about wealth building in our country, there's kind of two components. It's either ownership in a business, equity in a business. Doesn't mean entrepreneur, you just own a decent amount of stocks, or ownership in a home, right? But the
Mhm.
biggest barrier to being able to get a loan, a line of credit for your business, or being able to obtain a mortgage, a lot of times is that credit score. And it's not always rooted in bad reasons, right? You could have somebody that's coming to this country where credit wasn't a thing and they have tremendous financial habits, right? I don't spend more than what I have. I live within my means. I have 40% down to buy this home, but I'm credit invisible.
Mhm.
And or you could have a more unfortunate circumstance where you have somebody that might have been incarcerated and when they were younger and they come out in the system and they just don't know what's going on, right? So it's one of those things that's taboo to talk about. Finance just in general is, but when you go into credit, there's a lot of shame or pride
Mhm.
associated with what your number is. Um, and so we just kind of want to remove some of that stigma with it. So we talk about all things financial education, but that's like kind of the we call credit mastery like the in boss in
Mhm.
financial comprehension.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up the idea of the feelings around money. One of the things that I know a lot of people talk about is credit unions are often advertising their rates, and rates are important, absolutely. But I mean, it means so much more than that to the person getting the loan or whatever. It could be life-saving, it could be life-changing, it could be, helping them get their kid, buy a new car so they can get their kid to soccer practice. Whatever it is, people have a lot of feelings around their money because of not because of money, but because of what it does for them.
Yep.
And so anyway, yeah, talk a little bit about that connection, the feelings and the mental health, emotional side of money and credit.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about your credit score, right, starting on the negative side, right, like there's a lot of shame around things that you may not have known, right?
Mhm.
Like you didn't understand that you had this $1,000 credit limit and you shouldn't spend more than $300 of it. At least when your statement reports, it shouldn't show more than that. Um, And so you internalize that and think to yourself like, man, like I'm messing up, I'm not making the right decisions, right? And I think just, our capitalistic society, right, like it's, we kind of measure folks based on, where their ranks are financially. So it's a lot of things that people, keep to themselves. Um,
Hmm.
and it shouldn't be that way, right? I'm always transparent about my score, right? Like I had terrible credit, then got it to great credit, and then launched the business and maxed out cards and, saw a dip again before I brought it back up, right? So, but
Hmm.
I've never, not never, but like once I started to understand that this is something I just didn't know about, I started to be more transparent with folks about what's going on, and the more relatable you can be. So it's not just
Hmm.
about speaking about these things. We try to make our products have that same sentiment. Um, People get more comfortable and give themselves a break, right? To not feel so much shame and say, hey, I'm human. I made a mistake here, but you know, my credit score is not final.
Right. And it's, the number is information, it's data that you can intake. It doesn't measure you per se. Which I think, yeah, it's like, age, weight, whatever, all the numbers that we judge ourselves by, right?
Yep.
But you're young, you don't care about the age part. Anyway.
Oh no. Oh no. I celebrate 40 next year.
Oh, well, I'll be 50. So
We're
you
still
get
we're
time.
still under the half a century mark, both of us. Let's,
That's right. That's right. We're technically young. Anyway,
yeah.
so um you work with banks and credit unions, but
Yes.
so many fintechs in particular just, well, and maybe this is a little bit in the past, but it's changing now. They're moving towards serving credit unions. I feel like in the past it's like they're too, people would think they were too slow, not tech savvy enough. All the things that we all have heard in the past, but I do feel like Ukrainians maybe have turned a corner and even leapfrogged some generations of technology, especially like all the hype that AI gets, or has gotten in the last 2 years. Why do you choose to work with credit unions?
So there's a lot of mission alignment, right? If you think about what credit unions are all about, right? I was at a conference earlier this week and they talked about people helping people, right? And that's effectively the spirit of what a credit union is. I think that's why you're starting to see more fintechs come around and start to try to find ways to serve credit unions, right? Because fintechs, when built the right way, are really there to help people, right? And
Mm,
they're like, man, okay, I didn't realize how mission aligned these things were, right? Like just even the company formation style of a credit union is philosophically different, right? It's really
mhm,
member driven. So, I mean, I've always appreciated it, right? I always tell my friends, hey, if you're getting an auto loan, seek out your credit union first, right? And it's that principle's never changed. And so when I try to ask questions, just even in product improvement and making sure that we're doing this the right way, the first people I'm asking are people that come from the credit union space. So it's,
mhm.
you know, above all mission alignment.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's been a big deal and even a brand maker for some of them across the United States. And really, I mean, it could be for all credit unions. Um, but yeah, I'm not going to get on credit union industry branding right now. Industry as a whole, I mean. But anyway, so yeah, why or how do you work with credit unions?
So what we do, we're not trying to be the hero in the story, right? Effectively, what we do is our core product, Credit Quest, right? Think of it like a Duolingo for finance. It's something that we white label for the credit union. We can do it in a way to where it integrates with the core that they're using, right? But we found a lot of success and simplicity, right? So the standalone version, it allows to operate separate. Um, we white label it for the credit union, and then basically what happens is they offer it to their members. And like I said, it's Duolingo in a sense, but we say that for two reasons. One, very similar look and feel, but more importantly, we put the credit union in charge of the rewards, and we use the concept of adaptive learning. When you think about most solutions that we've seen today around the topic of financial education, it's typically age based and the content is static. What we do is we either skill up or skill down based on where somebody's at in their journey.
Mhm.
You know, Duolingo's around languages, and we say the same thing should apply to financial education. It doesn't matter if you're 15 years old or 50 years old. If you're learning Spanish for the first time, hola is hola, and you got to start there until you can prove you know differently. We should be taking that same approach to financial education. And then the key component past that, right, is like that's what's the value for the member. But the value that we bring back for the credit union is we put them in charge of the rewards, right? So we do have simple options where they could use those points they've obtained through learning for things like gift cards, but we encourage and actually are incentivized ourselves because we do pay for the gift cards if the members redeem them, to create rewards that are going to be of value directly to the bottom line of the credit union. So instead of using 5,000 points for a $5 gift card at Chipotle, use those 5,000 points for a match savings bonus or reduced APR on an auto loan, right? Whatever
Mhm.
they feel would be kind of the key KPI for them.
So those benefits sound like they'd be great for the crane and the member as well, because it still ties back and reinforces the financial literacy piece of it. So
Indeed.
talk a little bit about that tie in there.
Yeah. So one of my favorite books is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I think it's habit four. Don't quote me on this, but it's think win win. So I feel like it's a win win win, right?
Hmm.
Effectively for the end member, they're gaining the benefit of financial education, and there's enough incentive to make them continuously come back. Um, for the credit union themselves, it's saying like, what can we do as a reward that brings value to the member, but also drives value back to us. And we spend a lot of time with him on that, right? Like the white labeling of the product takes us honestly less than a day, but
Hmm.
the curation of what the reward should be, how we strategically plan a rollout, that's like where it can take a couple weeks for that to happen. Um, and then there's the end product stuff, but then also outside of it too, we'll work with credit unions to create brand activations, right? We've done this series called Barbershop Speaks on occasion, where we'll find a local barbershop within the community and have straight talk around finance. Done that in
Hmm.
DC. We also did that in Miami. Um, so it's just continuing to keep them the hero of the story and saying my credit union has helped me learn about all these topics on finance, in particular credit. My credit union has helped me get my first car. They've helped me obtain my first mortgage, my first credit card, like whatever the case is. um, and then these things are all important, but how do you track them, right? So on the back end we make sure that there's a dashboard which is super transparent, so you'll know exactly like how members are engaging, where it's working, where it's not working, and we give tips on additional ways to kind of incentivize folks. And then, I know credit unions, for the 3,000 plus that are under 10,000 members, right? They're small but mighty. But sometimes the marketing team can be a team of one who serves 10 roles. So we do have some tools internally to help them too, where they can use AI to generate marketing assets, et cetera.
Hmm. And one of the things that credit unions have had challenge with is their age of their membership. um, as you kind of mentioned earlier when we were talking, Credit Academy can serve all. Obviously, you want to get them young when you can, and that's also not only does that create a good society, but it's also good for the credit union itself, whose age, even in the time I've been working in crayons, the average age has gone from like 40 to 50. And
Yep.
so,
Yep.
yeah, do you see credit unions that are using this to not, I guess, maybe not bring in members, but maybe bring in members, but also just help keep them engaged and keep, especially the younger ones,
Yeah.
involved in the credit union down the road?
Yeah. No, we definitely do. And there's tools to within to encourage that engagement, right? So it doesn't just have to be them learning to earn points. The credit union themselves could incentivize, hey, come in and do a budget review and get 5,000 points, right? So that's why those kind of standardized rewards are valuable too, because I say, well, I've already got my auto loan, but okay, cool, I can come in and do this, and now I could get a gift card at DoorDash. Cool, right? And then we have some shareability, some kind of viral components where they can share with friends and gain points. Also, we try to make sure that the UX it's a very friendly experience for the member to use.
Hmm.
So we don't take any PII outside of emails, but what we do is we do incentivize the member to add some additional information to their profile, which collects additional things on demographics, which the credit union can then see on the back end. So if they start to see some outliers or just a specific cohort of folks that are really engaging and getting value of the product, they know where they can, market or market a little more, and vice versa.
And then they can also bring in the parents of those kids as well,
Hmm.
potentially. But also, I keep using but, I got a dialectical behavior therapy here. And, um, I imagine this could be helpful for somebody who, say, is recently divorced and their credit is now trash, or they don't have
Yeah,
it
yeah,
because it was all based on their husband's job or wife's job, whatever.
yep.
Um, so yeah, talk about maybe how you focus it differently when it's talking about people who already have that kind of life experience built in a little bit.
Yeah. So, the learning journey, it's intended to be adaptive for whoever's using it, right? So if you are that 45-year-old person and really feeling like you're starting from the beginning, right? Like there's not too many platforms out there that will allow you to start from the quote unquote beginning of that journey, without making you feel like you're behind. And that's never our intention here. When you first download the app and utilize it, we try to understand a couple things like your attitude, cognition, and emotions around money, right? And then some of your desires. So you could be coming into it because you did have one house and now you need to buy another house, and right, the first time you did it you weren't on the mortgage. You could be going through a midlife crisis and you want to buy that Porsche, but you want to make sure that you can, right? So there's just, myriad of reasons. But we all, as adults in this country, have to interact with finances in one way or another, and the best thing we can do is to be able to have the knowledge to be equipped to handle any situation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Evan, I appreciate your time. I always allow my
Always
guests to
appreciate
have the
this.
final thought. What would you like to leave our credit audience with today?
I would say to anybody listening, first off, thank you for listening. But think about how you educate your members, and think about how you educate them in between the times they're not in front of your face. And it's those times in between is where we live. We want
Mhm.
to help have you, we want to help give you a continuous communication tool to say, hey, keep it up, keep up the good work. We see you're taking your financial education seriously. Here's a couple additional points to reward you on your journey. That way they don't forget about you. And I mean that in a positive way, right? Like you're continuously the heroes here, and you're doing the work that really can help change families' lives. So again, right after you do the financial workshop, when do you communicate with them again? And all that space in between.
Mm.
That's what Credit Academy is here to help you out with.